If you're thinking about buying a motorcycle from a major brand this year, you need to stop and listen to this. The biggest names in motorcycling are drowning in their own failures right now. Sales are absolutely plummeting. Finding parts has become a nightmare, and resale values are crashing harder than a rookie on their first ride. Riders everywhere are getting squeezed, and the excuses coming from these manufacturers sound more pathetic by the day. But here's the terrifying part. We're not even close to hitting rock bottom yet. The brand I'm about to expose isn't just struggling. It's literally gasping for air while dragging an entire century of American legacy straight into the grave with it. Let's talk about Harley-Davidson, the brand that used to be synonymous with American freedom itself. Harley built its reputation on more than just selling motorcycles. They sold a complete lifestyle. For generations, owning a Harley meant you weren't just buying transportation. You were buying into an embodiment of pure freedom and joining a worldwide brotherhood of rebels. You weren't just another rider cruising down the highway. You were part of something bigger, with the roar of thunder beneath you and chrome gleaming in the sunlight. But today's reality is a brutal wake-up call. Buying a Harley now means facing some seriously harsh financial truths. Those entry-level models that used to welcome new riders into the family, they now start at over $13,000, and that's just the beginning. Once you factor in freight costs, dealer markups, and the upgrades you'll inevitably want, you're easily looking at $17,000 or more just to get started. For a brand that built its entire identity around being the working-class dream of freedom on the open road, that price tag feels like a complete betrayal of everything they once stood for. And it gets worse. The flagship touring models like the Road Glide and Street Glide routinely exceed $40,000. In a time when riders are looking for value over flashy branding, Harley's pricing is out of touch with its roots. It seems to cater to a more exclusive market rather than the community it once thrived in. As for the technology, it's lagging behind. While other manufacturers are rolling out innovations such as liquid-cooled engines, advanced ride modes, and modern safety systems, Harley remains stuck with its aging, air-cooled Milwaukee 8 engine. The familiar gauges and that classic rumble might feel nostalgic, but when you're on the road, that old vibe isn't keeping pace with what today's riders expect. What's more alarming is Harley's deteriorating image. Once a beacon of allure and strength, it's losing its grip, especially on younger motorcyclists. Today's riders are looking for adaptability and cutting-edge features, not a brand dictating how they should dress or what lifestyle to adopt. They seek freedom without the constraints of a uniform. Harley's competitors have figured this out, and it's clear. The motorcycle landscape is changing, and Harley needs to catch up. Harley-Davidson faces tough times ahead, and the reasons might surprise you. While Indian motorcycles have been stepping up their game with modern tech and agility, Harley's attempts to keep pace haven't landed as well as planned. Take a used 2015 Road Glide, for example. It's priced around $15,000 and can provide a ride almost identical to newer models. That's a tough competition for Harley's newer offerings. Harley's bold step into the future with the Live Wire, an all-electric motorcycle, initially seemed exciting. However, it hit the market with a hefty price tag of nearly $30,000 and an underwhelming range of less than 150 miles. Unsurprisingly, riders didn't bite, leading to dismal sales. The company handled this by creating a separate brand for it, but that didn't solve the larger issue. On the bright side, the Revolution Max engine found in the Pan America and Sportster S shows that Harley can innovate. But instead of revamping their lineup, the company is leaving these promising models isolated, sticking with an aging fleet that feels stuck in the past. There's a larger issue at play. Harley's core riders are getting older, and new enthusiasts aren't replacing them like before. The brand's legacy, once a symbol of rebellion, now feels like a nostalgic but stagnant ritual. Harley-Davidson's struggle isn't solely due to resistance to change. It's about not evolving enough to attract the next generation. Then we have Indian motorcycles, which once had the perfect comeback story. After years in the shadows, it emerged under the support of Polaris Industries, looking strong, dynamic, and packed with that vintage spirit that resonated with many. At one point, Indian wasn't just competing with Harley, it was setting new standards. However, in 2023, Indian took a surprising step back. The vibrant, multicolor Native American headdress logo, a powerful symbol in the biking community, was retired in favor of a more subdued, monochrome version. While the brand framed it as a move toward cultural sensitivity, many loyal fans felt it stripped away a piece of the identity that connected them to the brand's rich history. For riders, that logo wasn't merely a design, it was a part of their story with Indian motorcycles. When a brand loses its identity, the fallout can be swift and severe. For one powerhouse in the motorcycle world, a logo change wasn't just a minor tweak. It sent ripples of disappointment through its loyal following. Forums were buzzing and social media was ablaze, with some labeling it as an example of cancel culture and others calling it corporate weakness. At the heart of it all was a deep sense of betrayal. This brand, which had emerged stronger than ever, started to undermine its very foundation. Dealerships faced the challenge of mending wounds. But the real problem wasn't merely the logo, it was the message that change conveyed. This company had been navigating a delicate balance between staying true to its roots and adapting to new trends. Once that emotional connection frayed, the brand's stability began to slip away. Unfortunately, this misstep happened at a time when the brand was finally capturing attention from younger riders. With appealing models like the Scout Bobber and FTR, they were making strides with a new fan base. However, today's younger riders are astute. They can quickly sense when a brand is uncertain about its direction. The logo switch revealed deeper insecurities within the company. Without a vast dealership network like Harley, Yamaha, or Honda to lean on, this brand depended on a strong emotional bond with its customers. When that bond wavers, the safety net disappears. Longtime enthusiasts who supported the brand's resurgence now felt let down. The trust built over years melted away for a more generic story. Even though the bikes remained impressive, stylish, and well-engineered, in the motorcycle world, perception is pivotal. The internal shifts created an external crisis of identity. Now, this brand finds itself at a crucial juncture. It still has time to choose a path forward, but that opportunity is shrinking fast. Prolonged indecision only complicates the situation further. Sure, a few misguided marketing choices can be fixed, and a controversial logo can be a temporary setback. But when a billion-dollar enterprise is losing money, halting development, and laying off employees, that's not just a rough patch, it's a troubling spiral downward. Speaking of spirals, let's talk about KTM. Once recognized as a leader in European off-road bikes and bold engineering, this iconic name took a nosedive recently. In November 2024, the news hit like a thunderclap. Pierre Mobility AG, the parent company of KTM, announced it was entering self-administration. This is more than just a fancy term. It's a last-ditch effort to dodge bankruptcy by restructuring under legal supervision. In simpler terms, they've run out of funds, and investors are watching the situation unfold with concern. KTM has faced a dramatic decline, with its stock dropping more than 80% in less than a year. Supply chain issues, overproduction, and inflation were part of the problem, but the underlying cause was much deeper. The company expanded too quickly, ramping up to produce over 1,000 motorcycles a day, aiming for growth in emerging markets. Unfortunately, when that demand didn't materialize, they were left dealing with factories overflowing with unsold bikes. To address the crisis, KTM took drastic measures. They halted production lines and froze the development of new models, leading to over 300 layoffs of engineers, designers, and logistics experts across Europe. What had once been a story of rapid growth turned into a struggle to survive. KTM's downfall stems from a painful disconnect between their ambitions and what was realistic. They aimed to diversify, offering premium bikes in Western markets while pushing affordable entry-level models in new regions. The strategy seemed solid, but the execution was flawed. Those entry-level bikes came with tight profit margins, meaning they needed to sell huge quantities just to make ends meet. When inflation rose, interest rates climbed, and consumer spending slowed down, their operations began to falter rapidly. Compounding these issues was the loss of a crucial partnership with Bajaj, the Indian manufacturing giant that sold its KTM shares in 2021. This severed KTM's access to essential production efficiencies, leaving the brand caught in an expensive manufacturing cycle without the cash flow to sustain it. Supply delays piled up, and dealers found themselves with showrooms full of motorcycles they couldn't sell. Even KTM's reputation in racing couldn't protect them when they were in dire straits, struggling to meet financial obligations. If you think KTM's troubles are shocking, wait until you hear about Norton. This brand didn't just face a setback, it entered a scandal that left riders with nothing but regrets and empty wallets. Norton, once a cherished name in British motorcycle history, has a tale filled with not just financial chaos, but betrayal. Under the leadership of Stuart Garner, who bought the brand in 2008, Norton's legacy has been severely tarnished, leaving customers dissatisfied and employees in the lurch. Many were convinced that this storied motorcycle brand could rise again. The promise was grand, a revival that would pay homage to its glorious past while advancing performance. Initial excitement led to factories being retooled, new models being announced, and orders rolling in from fans worldwide. But beneath the shiny surface and flashy press releases lay a troubling reality. By 2020, everything unraveled as the company fell into scandal, revealing an intricate mess of mismanagement and outright deceit. Pension funds had been misappropriated, orders were taken without a single bike constructed, and customers hoping for their new rides found themselves stuck with useless invoices. Even the bikes that were delivered had significant quality issues. Some couldn't even pass inspection. Employees showed up to locked doors, emails went unanswered, and the once respected name became a cautionary tale. It seemed like the end for a brand that had once stood proudly alongside Triumph and BSA. But in April 2020, a surprising twist occurred when TVS Motor Company, an industrial giant from India, scooped up Norton for $20 million. They promised a new headquarters, a commitment to fulfill outstanding orders, and a vision to bring Norton back onto the global stage. For a fleeting moment, hope was rekindled. But reviving a tarnished legacy is much more complex than simply investing money. Despite the new funds and facilities, Norton's comeback has faced significant hurdles. The much-anticipated V4 SV Superbike, priced at $50,000, has been delayed repeatedly, while other promised models have yet to go into full production. Many loyal customers who placed deposits in the prior regime are still without their motorcycles or refunds. Rebuilding trust is a slow process, and the shadow of past failures hangs heavily over the brand. Although there's nostalgia for Norton, many potential customers are hesitant to engage. The dealer network is nearly non-existent outside of the UK, and even though the revival was marketed as a return to British craftsmanship, production numbers remain low, and profit margins are razor-thin. The bikes are scarce at shows, and while TVS exudes patience, that alone might not be enough to turn the tide. Norton is at a critical crossroads. If they can't turn things around quickly and boost their production, they could face a downfall that's hard to bounce back from. This situation isn't just about bad management or trying to bring back a brand. It's deeper. It's about trust, and once that's lost, it's tough to regain. Some brands fade out with a bang, while others simply disappear quietly. But there's something tragic about being forgotten completely. You might not even remember a brand's name if it vanishes without a trace. Now, let's shift gears to Mitsubishi, an iconic name that many might overlook. This giant isn't just famous for their cars. They once produced motorcycles that rumbled with strength and precision. Back in the 1950s and 60s, during a thriving post-war era, Mitsubishi was positioned as a serious contender in the motorcycle world. Their scooters and smaller bikes, under the Silver Pigeon and Mitsubishi names, took on giants like Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki. For a short time, they succeeded. Their bikes were built to last and were dependable, backed by the company's industrial strength and vision. However, ambition can't substitute for dedication. As the motorcycle scene grew more competitive in the 1970s, Mitsubishi quietly withdrew from the fray. While Honda was busy innovating with its CB series and Yamaha was carving out its racing heritage, Mitsubishi turned its attention solely to cars. Their motorcycle division began to fade away, first by scaling back production, then through licensing deals, and finally just going silent. By the 1980s, it was as if they had never existed in the motorcycle market, leaving many to wonder what happened. Mitsubishi never made a formal announcement about stepping back from motorcycles, they just quietly backed out. Recently, though, there have been murmurs about a possible return to the motorcycle scene, this time focusing on electric models. There are patents, battery research, and some speculative designs floating around. Some in the industry hold out hope that Mitsubishi will harness its automotive electric vehicle experience to introduce something innovative in the electric motorcycle market. But at this point, that's just speculation. As of 2025, nothing substantial has come to light, leaving Mitsubishi's motorcycle legacy as just an echo of the past. Mitsubishi motorcycles are mostly a thing of the past, stuck in time like dust-covered collectibles. You might spot a few relics in museums, or come across a vintage scooter being polished in a garage by an enthusiast in Nagoya or Los Angeles. But as a vibrant motorcycle brand, Mitsubishi has faded away entirely. It's a story of a slow and silent departure, a brand that paused, allowing others to leap ahead. While competitors outpaced and outlasted it, Mitsubishi quietly vanished from the scene, leaving behind a dormant name and long-buried ambitions overshadowed by its automotive struggles. Today, it exists in name only, with its motorcycle legacy mostly forgotten. While Mitsubishi's exit was barely a whisper, another brand is still alive but on life support. Every year, it's losing dealers, parts suppliers, and riders. It hasn't vanished, but it's dwindling. Few are stepping up to help, and that silence feels heavier than complete oblivion. At the heart of this decline is Moto Guzzi, a brand with a rich history and a passionate spirit. Founded in 1921, Moto Guzzi has been crafting motorcycles from the same factory on Lake Como for over a century, embodying Italian craftsmanship and beauty. Its unique transverse V-twin engines and signature designs have made Guzzis easily recognizable, machines that aren't just bikes, but characters on the road. Yet, in this fast-paced world, history alone won't sustain a brand. Moto Guzzi is struggling, not due to a lack of heritage, but for clinging too tightly to it. With production dipping below 10,000 bikes a year and a shrinking global presence, many towns now lack a dealer, and support for parts is hit or miss. While the bikes still have that charm, they simply can't compete with modern demands in a rapidly evolving market. For years, Moto Guzzi has held on, but at this rate, it looks like it might unravel rather than bounce back. Moto Guzzi has been hanging on with its classic 90-degree V-twin engine from the 1970s, while competitors have moved ahead with modern features like liquid cooling and the latest tech. Instead of embracing these advancements, Moto Guzzi has treated modern options, like ride modes, cornering ABS, and TFT displays, as if they were just nice-to-haves, arriving late or not at all when expectations have shifted dramatically. What seems like a commitment to simplicity may actually come off as an inability to adapt. When Moto Guzzi tried to modernize with the V85 TT adventure bike, it was a stunning nod to the past, but it struggled with only 80 horsepower, feeling underpowered compared to rivals. The new V100 Mandello, finally featuring liquid cooling and updated technology, does mark a move forward, yet one model alone can't reverse the years of decline. On the financial side, things aren't looking bright. Moto Guzzi is part of the Piaggio Group, which also owns Vespa and Aprilia. While Piaggio has poured resources into updating the factory, its priorities lie elsewhere. Vespa sells well, and Aprilia secures wins in racing, leaving Moto Guzzi in a precarious position. The iconic factory in Mandello del Lario doesn't come cheap, with high labor costs and slow modernization efforts meaning nostalgia isn't translating into profit. Guzzi enthusiasts are incredibly passionate and loyal, often saying no other bike rides quite like a Guzzi. They love the feel of the torque and the raw edge that gives character to every ride. However, passion alone won't cover operational costs, and as beloved as the brand is, its struggle for survival means that love begins to feel painful. The community is becoming smaller, the support network is diminishing, and with each passing year, Moto Guzzi risks becoming just a name from the past. What was once a vibrant brand is now quietly slipping away. Moto Guzzi isn't soaring anymore. It's circling lower, closer to a troubling landing. When it does reach the end, it won't be with an explosion, but with a silence that only the true fans will feel. And while there are still other brands standing, barely, it's evident that a larger crisis is looming. Before you invest in a motorcycle brand, ask yourself, will it still be around next year? Stick around, because what's next might catch you off guard.